So Jason Statham is back with his new action film, The Beekeeper, and let me just say, when it comes to Jason Statham, he's one of those actors I'm on the fence about when it comes to his movies. Some of them are good, some of them are okay, some of them are bad. He's never really had a solid streak with me. It's just always on and off for me. And still, after all this time, when it comes to his movies, my favorite movie with him in it is The Transporter, the first one, and this movie certainly did not beat it. But even though it didn't, it's not to say that this movie is not enjoyable. This movie tells the story of a man named Adam Clay, which is the name of Jason Statham's character. And of course, he works as a beekeeper. He works for this elderly woman who is a school teacher at that. And when she is scammed out of $2 million by these scammers, she eventually takes her own life. And when he finds out about this and finds out who the scammers are, he goes after them for revenge. Of course, we find out while he's on his quest for revenge that he used to be some sort of special operative whose profession was killing certain people, and no one knows exactly who he is except for the government agency he used to work for. It's like he's a mixture of Robert McCall and John Wick, except the only difference is that those two, Robert McCall and John Wick, were way better. This movie is directed by David Ayer. If you don't know who that is, a few of the movies he's directed is Fury, Suicide Squad, and the movie Bright on Netflix. And also, when this movie first started, specifically the first act was like the best part of the movie, without a doubt. And I mean, it's a very relatable situation. I mean, an elderly woman who's not keen on technology, getting scammed out of everything she has. I mean, that's something very common nowadays. I mean, there are scammers all over the place. But what was even more enjoyable about it was the fact that he was going after them and giving them like the beatdown they deserve. I was like, yes, this is thoroughly enjoyable to see these kind of scumbags get what they deserve. The action was where this movie, though, really shined. The action was very reminiscent of movies that we watched in the 90s. I mean, the sequences were great. I loved them between the first two acts. And I mean, the kills were brutal. That was a nice touch as well. The only bad thing about it was that, like some 90s action movies I've watched, the last act didn't follow through. It was too serious. And I mean, with the momentum it had from the first two acts, with it finally getting serious at the very end, I was like, wow, this movie didn't really finish strong. The bee puns in this movie also were clever at first. They were cheesy and silly at first, and it was like, kind of got a little giggle out of me in the beginning of the movie, at least, because at first they were clever, but then they just added so many of them, it just got to the point that it was annoying, and I was just saying in my head, enough with these bee puns already. They're not funny anymore. Literally, guys, that's how annoying those puns got. Also, the villain trying to emphasize that, Jason Statham is a beekeeper and that he's a man you should fear, it really didn't work well at all. The emphasis definitely pulled, like, from John Wick. You guys remember the scene from the first John Wick movie?
That fucking nobody is John Wick.
It was like that. Like, they were trying to say, oh, you screwed with the wrong person, now he's going to be coming after you. Like, okay, so we're turning the beekeeper into John Wick now? I was like, no, you can't turn somebody else into John Wick, especially not this character. So I was like, no, this is not working for me. You can try and emphasize that he is a beekeeper and, someone who is dangerous, but you can't emphasize that he's that dangerous. Since I'm on the topic of comparing this movie to John Wick, I mean, that's pretty much what the core of this movie is. It's pretty much modeled after it. That's in my opinion. The opinion that I feel about this movie is that it is a mixture of John Wick and The Equalizer. I mean, the core of this movie is pretty much those two movies. Some retirement, a man who is in retirement, living a peaceful life, and then all of a sudden somebody that they care about gets hurt or robbed or killed at that, and then eventually they come out of retirement to go after these people. So it's like a guy with the skills of John Wick, but he was once a government agent like Robert McCall was. So, I mean, the only differences between those two movies and this one is that the last act of this movie, the action slowed down way too much. All in all, this movie was enjoyable, but not amazing. That's why I'm only going to give Beekeeper a C+ here. Alright, well, if you guys have seen The Beekeeper, please comment here down below what your thoughts were on it. Also, if you like my other videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time, and remember, stay epic!